Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people should exercise caution when viewing this video. It contains images of deceased persons. The stories in this video focus on the many issues regarding the stolen generations, which may cause distress.
Over 2,000 generations have passed through this land, with their languages, cultures, and complex societies. But in 1788, when the tall ships came, everything changed. The British invasion disregarded the original inhabitants and custodians. The next 7 to 8 generations were marked by trauma, resulting in the social and emotional well-being issues we see today. Whole generations of children stolen, families broken. Between 1910 and the 1970s, approximately 100,000 Aboriginal children, especially those of mixed race, were forcibly removed from their mothers and fathers. Abuse and unpaid labour were common, creating disproportionately high levels of social and economic disadvantage. Prime Minister Kevin Rudd brought hope in 2008 when he apologised to the stolen generations. But this did not produce the progress we'd hoped for. If we are to create a better future for our children and our children's children, it has to start right now, right here with us. It's time to regain control of our own livelihoods and children, to reconnect with our ancient land, speak our tongue, and be proud of our culture. That's what Yokai is about. Yokai is an Aboriginal initiative that promotes truth, justice, and healing for our people. There's a long way to go in addressing the trauma, but we will never give up. Will you stand with us?
Yokai! I'm Jim Morrison, Chairperson of the West Australian Stolen Generation Aboriginal Corporation. Welcome to our memorial site for stolen generation peoples here at Wellington Square. It's a live broadcast courtesy of RTR FM and on YouTube, whereby you will hear today the commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the Bringing Them Home report. Here is Reverend Mitchell Garlett, the son of the late Sealan Garlett, who will give us a welcome to country here for this 25th commemoration. Thank you, my brother.
Hi, Conk. Thank you, Uncle. I'm the son of a stolen generation survivor. It's an honour to be here today. And more importantly, it's an honour to be here to share my language, my tongue. Giving a welcome to you all this morning, wanting to say in my language, wanting to say kaya mamaniti yiring anyunga boyja. Ngan maman ngan walon yining ngan wangin ngan murt kan yan ngan kwert barngin ngan boyja. Ngan daman gaman gawer and karawurt kulin. Ngan nalong murt kan yan ngan daman gaman ngan kunyat murt ngan yurlin kulunga. Ngan wabila murt ngan yuat kul ngan kura ngan wadi ngan yuat kul ngan kalak maya ngan yunga boyja. Wabila murt ngan yuat kul ngan kulunga ngan yuat kul ngan wabin ngan yunga murt. Ngan yunga kulunga ngan wajbula kulunga ngan wabin ngan boyja ngan dapukan ngan wurtkulin ngan karijin ngan dwonk ngan kwert ngan baringin ngan kwert ngan jurp ngan kwert ngan jurp ngan nunakut ngan yuarkul ngan wajak boyja ngan yunga morn. And in English it says that a long time ago, our Creator, our God, He allowed the dark-skinned people to look after this place. He said, you look after this land, and in return it'll look after you. And Daman Gaman Gawirin is our old people of yesterday, who've been able to hold on to our culture and our language to this day. they've been able to hold on to it for us to pass on to those who follow after us. And what will more and you are cool is that our white friends and family, they came from a long way across the water. They came, they brought their families and their children, and they came here and made a home amongst the Noongar people. And Noongar Moort and Wadwilla Moort and Wabing and Dappelkan Wurtkuling. That is my people and your people, and Noongar Moort and Wadwilla Moort and Wabing. Your children and my children, they work and play together upon this land. And as we journey together as first and second peoples of this land, as we journey as a people who call this place home, we have one job to do, and that is to listen. And Karajin and Dwonk and Kurit Barangin, that we have to listen not only with our ears, but with our hearts for a better journey for tomorrow. And Kaya and Wanju, welcome and thank you. Yoko.
Thank you, Mitchell. Following in the footsteps of your great father, the late Reverend Seelan Garlett, recently ordained priest, so thank you for being on board to give us a welcome to country. I would now like to introduce you to our new Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, Tony Booty. We invited him to our event, but he is out of Perth, and we got a recording of his welcome and what he wants to say about this commemoration, our 25th anniversary of the Bringing Them Home report.
Hello to everyone watching, and I wish I could join you in person today. However, by the time you hear this, I'll be in Carnarvon. I'm speaking here today from Wadja Butja, the country of the Wadja people of the Noongar Nation. In doing so, I pay my respects to elders, past and present, and to leaders established and emerging. Today, we mark the 25th National Sorry Day. It's a day that we, as individuals, as communities, as a state and as a nation, reflect on the impacts of the systematic removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children from their families. This year's event is particularly poignant. It marks 25 years, a quarter of a century, since the tabling of the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission's Bringing Them Home report in Federal Parliament. This year also marks 50 years since the repeal of the Native Welfare Act in Western Australia, an act which deemed the Commissioner of Native Welfare responsible for the custody, maintenance and education of children of natives. It never ceases to resonate that such abhorrent laws and practices only became illegal in this state just half a century ago. In the decades since, there has been some significant milestones, most notable being Prime Minister Kevin Rudd's apology to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of Australia for the forced removal of their children throughout history. However, I know the road to progress and better understanding has often been marked with detours. I know that today's National Sorry Day is met with a range of emotions. I believe there is cause for hope. In recent days, we have seen the election of a new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. The first thing Mr Albanese said in his acceptance speech was that his government would commit in full to the Uluru Statement from the Heart. To that end, Australia's incoming Indigenous Affairs Minister, Wiradjuri woman Linda Burney, has committed to a referendum to enshrine the voice in the Constitution. So I believe, as we gather today to reflect openly and honestly about the shame of the policies that enable dispossession and removal of children from their families, that there are brighter days ahead. I want to take the opportunity to reflect on the significance of the Bringing Them Home report, which was a catalyst for today's day of recognition and intensified community and political debate. In the lead up to the report, in 1992, Prime Minister Paul Keating delivered the Redfern speech and declared, "We took the children from their mothers." This was the first time such a senior government officer had publicly acknowledged the government's responsibility for separating Aboriginal children from their families. Less than 3 years later, in 1995, the federal government commissioned the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission National Inquiry into this very issue. Then on this day in 1997, after 18 months of private and public hearings, the inquiry's report was tabled in the Commonwealth Parliament. Bringing Them Home stated that from at least the mid or late 19th century, there was a policy of forced separation adversely affecting Aboriginals from all states and territories. As a lawyer for the Aboriginal Legal Service of WA in 1996, I prepared a submission to the National Inquiry. To this day, I consider that work to be amongst the most important and impactful of my career. As the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs for the Western Australian Government, I seek to join you in advancing the aspirations and interests of the Aboriginal community. And on this 25th Sorry Day, I would like to say, I am sorry. We are sorry. I hope today's Sorry Day is an opportunity for reflection, healing, and hope for a better future.
You heard the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, Tony Beattie, talking about how pleased he is to be in government, and also we've got to keep him honest, you know. We're going to talk about compensation. It's interesting, we're broadcasting live on RTR FM. Nick, you and I normally do Moodish Mag on this day every Thursday, so it's a bit weird being down here at Wellington Square and yarning.
I think it's important that we're at a place that's connected to not only us today, but also our previous generations and perhaps our future generations in terms of this place and what today means, and bringing it on Moodish Mag. You know, it's very connecting to me and my family and my generations before me.
And welcome Tony Hansen, a survivor himself from Maribang Mission. Tony, thank you for being here. We worried that you weren't going to make it, so it's really a pleasure to have a Stolen Generation person here as part of Moodish Mag, live on YouTube. And everybody's hearing you out there, so welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Nick. It's a real privilege and honour to be here on this special day commemorating a profound group of people, the Stolen Generation children.
Good, and as Nick and I have already talked about the significance of the Stolen Generation Memorial site here, Yokai, healing our spirit. And Nick, we've watched this progress, we've watched how this has happened. What's the impact on you and I? I mean, you and I are both Stolen Generation survivors. Our old people were taken. How do you feel about this, Nick?
Well, it makes the core of Europe, you know, make the heart happy in terms of the recognition and a lot of the things that was impacted on my mum and her 3 generations preceding her and being removed from family and country, and being at this particular site where we grew up. And when people got out of the missions, they came back here searching for family. So for me, it's very fitting that this place is the the place where we're recognising our Stolen Generations people.
Thank you. I'm going to come to Tony shortly. But my parents, I had 30 parents. Dad was the oldest of 23, Mum was one of 7. They were my parents. They were all stolen and put into various institutions on Noongar country. So we know the separation. We know what it did to them, and we know what it's done to their future generations, my grandchildren, etc. Tony, how has it impacted on you, the whole process of this particular site being a memorial site?
I think it's a significant site. It reminds us, daily and ensuring that we never forget the forcible removal of the children from their families, that impact of intergenerational trauma, how it affected the mothers, the fathers, the community. It affected all of us. And I think as a survivor, leaving the mission only recently, in this lifetime. And when I think about it, I think about all those other boys and girls that I grew up with who sadly, a large portion of them are not here today, not alive, sadly passed away at a very young age. And I see the impact and the trauma and that ripple effect that's ongoing in their children's lives.
Thanks, Tony. Look, this is normally here at Wellington Square, we would have 2,000 or 3,000 school kids. And now we're going live to the cyberspace and going to educate all these people that have joined us today. So welcome to our Sorry Day 25th anniversary commemoration. And it's interesting to know that it's a sunny, beautiful day here in Perth. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. But we're going to go to now a small video. There's some famous people on this program today. Archie Roach will appear a little later. But now we're going to an international intergenerational trauma that's been put together by the Healing Foundation, and another famous person, Uncle Jack Charles, will be narrating this. Have a look at this video.
The story of our communities, people and nation starts a long, long time ago. More than 60,000 years, in fact. This was when our culture and our law first started to thrive. We knew who we were and where we belonged. We took care of each other, our land and our waters. We ate food that made us healthy, lived on country and abided by our laws and song lines. Our families, our children were happy, with strong minds and hearts, because they were where they belonged. But then, everything changed.
Colonisation came, bringing wars, disease, famine, violence, and the destruction and violation of our cultural laws, sacred sites, families, and communities.
We were denied our knowledge, language, ceremonies, and identity. The very things that tell us who we are and where we belong. And our connections with each other and the land grew weak.
And then, our children were taken from us. They had their names changed and their identities stripped away. They were told that Aboriginal people were bad. Worse still, they were told that their parents and grandparents did not want them.
For years this happened, and those children became known as the stolen generations.
Our children were denied love and experienced physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. This left very deep, very complex, and very real wounds, leaving scars that are still being felt personally, socially, spiritually, and collectively.
In the time when our story started, we were able to parent in the cultural way that has seen our families survive and thrive for generations. Our people were strong, and our culture flowed and healed us in times of hurt.
But since the trauma of colonisation and the stolen generations, we have not been able to heal in the same way. And we have unknowingly passed this trauma on to our children through sharing our sad stories and having them witness and experience our pain. This is known as intergenerational trauma, and we see symptoms today in broken relationships, disconnected families, violence, suicide, and drug and alcohol abuse.
But this is not where our story ends. We still have strong minds and hearts, and we still know who we were and where we belong. By creating safe and strong communities together, supporting our families to be free from pain, returning to our culture and building a strength of identity, we can stop the cycle of trauma and bring about positive intergenerational change so that we can continue to thrive for the next 60,000 years. There are simple things that we can all do to help heal our trauma.
Visit healingfoundation.org.au to find out more.
Developed by the Healing Foundation in Canberra, Nick, and yes. Uncle Jack Charles, one of the most highest priority stolen generation persons.
Yes, and it's great how we introduce that video and how it goes across for many, many generations, and that happened here on this country, the oldest living culture in the world, and we struggle for recognition and an acknowledgement on our own country, and along with our stolen generations, struggling for them to say,
well, I think it's important too to make the community more aware, because 57% of Aboriginal people in this state were either stolen generation and or descendants like you and I.
But it's interesting that, Jim, but our language connects us because the sun, the Nyungan name for the sun is Ngak,
Yes.
which gives us all the warmth and that stuff. The Nyungan name for a mother, which gives us that nurturing and that birthing stuff, is also Ngak. So our languages connect us to the natural world and the human world, which we have to continue to remember. And removing children from mothers and stuff there is very traumatic to our community.
Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really, really exciting. It's a great opportunity to see those kind of documentaries from Uncle Jack and the work that the Healing Foundation and the West Australian Stolen Generation Aboriginal Corporation and other stolen generation agencies right around the country are doing. And I think when you look at that and you hear those percentages, 57%, that's every second Aboriginal person in this state of West Australia. We had 100 more institutions in this state than any other state or territory. And today, we have 57% of Aboriginal children in care. So you see that ripple effect. You see the intergenerational trauma is still rolling out today in our communities. It is still going, it's still happening, and we see the effects and the impact on our old people. And next year, 2023, all stolen generation people will be eligible for aged care. I am eligible today, and I still work in a professional capacity.
Thank you, Tony. That's a good sort of, just to go into the next area, because Uncle Jack Charles was one of our oldest statements now. He's famous, so it was good to hear his voice. Now, another famous person. 5 years ago, we filmed Archie Roach here at Wellington Square, and he sings very well and speaks very well, but today he's going to sing the song that's put us on the map as far as what the issue is. Here's Archie Roach.
Story's right, this story's true. I will not tell lies to you, like the promises they did not keep. How they fenced us in like sheep. They said to us, come take a hand. Set us up on mission land and told us to read, to write and pray. Then they took children away, took the children away, the children away. Snatched from our mother's breast, said this is for the best, took them away. The welfare and the policemen, well, they said you've got to understand, we're gonna give to them what you can't give. Teach them how to really live. Teach them how to live. They said humiliated them instead, and they taught them that, they taught them this, and others taught them prejudice when them took them children away, the children away, breaking our mother's heart, tearing us all apart, took them away. One dark day on Framingham, well, they came and didn't give a damn, and my mother cried, go get their dad. He came running, fighting there. Mother's tears were falling down, and my dad shaped up and stood his ground and say, you touch my kids, you're gonna have to fight me. Then they took us from our family, yeah, took us away. They took us away. Snatched from our mother's breast, said this is for the best, took us away. Told us what to do and say. Well, they taught us so. These white man's ways are better. Then they split us up again. And they gave us gifts to ease the pain. Sent us off to the foster homes. And as we grew up, well, we felt alone. 'Cause we were acting white, and we were feeling black, 'cause you were a little black boy. One sweet day, the children came back, the children came back. The children came back. Back where their hearts go strong, back where they all belong. The children came back. The children came back. Yeah, the children came back. Back where they understand, back to this mother's land. Children came back. Back to their mother. Back to their father. Back to their sister, back to their brother, back to their people, back to their land. All the children came back. Children came back. Other children came back. Everybody, I came back.
Yucca! Healing Our Spirit. Archie Roach there performed 5 years ago here in front of thousands of school kids. Next, shall we thank everybody and acknowledge our sponsors?
Yes, we can thank everybody, but also our sponsors, Lottery West, West Farmers, also our partners, City of Perth, Curtin University, Reconciliation WA, Healing Foundation, and also RTR-FM 92.1 on Moonish Mag and on Youngar Radio.
Moonish Mag, yes. Don't forget Reconciliation Week starts tomorrow. No, it starts today. So look at Reconciliation WA website. But also the petition is going out this week. So if you want to support stolen generation compensation in the state, get online, sign the petition, encourage all your friends to sign the petition. Tony.
I'd also like to thank Reverend Garland here today for doing the Welcome to Country and acknowledging our ancestors past, present and future, and welcoming us all here to Whadjuk Country.
Yucca!
Yucca.
Healing Our Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Story's right, this story's true. I will not tell lies to you, not the promises they did not keep. How they fenced us in like sheep. They said to us, come take a hand. Set us up on mission land and told us to read, to write and pray. Then they took children away, took the children away, the children away. Snatched from our mother's breast, said this is for the best, took them away. The welfare and the policemen, well, they said you've got to understand, we're gonna give to them what you can't give. Teach them how to really live. Teach them how to live. They said humiliated them instead. They taught them that, they taught them this, and others taught them prejudice when them took them children away. The children away, breaking our mother's heart, tearing us all apart, took them away. One dark day on Framingham, well, they came and didn't give a damn, and my mother cried, go get their dad. He came running, fighting mad. Mother's tears were falling down, and my dad shaped up and stood his ground and say, you touch my kids, you're gonna have to fight me. Then they took us from our family, yeah, took us away. They took us away. Snatched from our mother's breast, said this is for the best, took us away. Told us what to do and say. Well, they taught us all these white man's ways, but then they split us up again. And they gave us gifts to ease the pain. Sent us off to the foster homes. And as we grew up, well, we felt alone. 'Cause we were acting white, and we were feeling black, 'cause you were a little black boy. One sweet day, the children came back, the children came back. The children came back. Back where their hearts go strong, back where they all belong. The children came back. The children came back. Yeah, the children came back. Back where they understand, back to this motherland. Children came back. Back to their mother. back to their brothers, back to the people, back to their land. Other children came back, children came back, other children came back. Everybody, I came back. Thank you.